All right, it is 6 p.m. on December 10th, 2024, and I'm going to call the City of Iowa City meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alter. Burgess.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Harmson.
Here.
Moe.
Here.
Saleh. Here. Teague.
Here. Councilor Alter isn't able to join us. She was here virtually at our work session, but she won't be here for our meeting tonight. I wanted to welcome everyone to your City Hall, and to those that are joining us virtually, welcome as well. The second item on our agenda is an update by a special presentation by Sarah Gardner, our Climate and Outreach Coordinator. Welcome you at this time. And that item is the Iowa City Climate Action Office Home Energy Rating Systems Grant Program. Welcome.
Thank you very much. This is a real treat for me to be here tonight and to recognize so many partners in this program. Our HERS grant program is one that was almost 2 years in the making and involved a number of conversations with builders, realtors, energy raters, and our own inspection staff to bring it into being. It launched in June, and we've had more success with it than we could have anticipated, which we're happy to share with you tonight. This program incentivizes building to a higher standard than the state code currently. It uses a system known as the HERS Energy Rating System, which not only helps us gauge, using third-party verification, the performance of the home, but also gives realtors and home buyers an easy-to-understand metric to understand what they're going to be spending on energy costs or what they're going to be saving in energy costs when they purchase these particular homes. Every point in the scoring system, it represents being 1% more efficient. So I have been telling people all year long, it's like golf. The lower the score, the better. And our award, which set the threshold at 52 or better to receive the grant, represents a 20% efficiency over homes that are built to the current Iowa State Code. I want to start by saying critical to the success of this program has been the Home Builders Association, which partnered with us to help launch the program during the Parade of Homes earlier this year. Here tonight is Ali Salo, Executive Officer of the HBA. So a big thank you to Ali, both for her ongoing support and for coming out tonight. During the Parade of Homes, 2 outstanding Parade homes actually qualified for the award. One was our Housing Fellowship Student Build Project, which got a fantastic score of 46, and then Advantage Homes, which received a score of 43. So both of those homes exceeded our expectations in the parade, which gave us a really strong start. Advantage actually has since been in contact with us and has told us they intend to submit every home that they construct going forward for this award, and that the small grant amount of $1,800 actually is enough to help them further their electrification goals for their properties, which is really wonderful. Since the parade, the program has just continued to pick up momentum. In September, we gave out our first repeat builder award, a builder who submitted for award once before and then got a second home in, and that was Navigate Homes. We're joined tonight by Gina Landau representing Navigate, so we were very excited to get a repeat performer so early in the program. Thank you, Gina, for that. And then in October, we gave an award for our first multifamily residence. We had a townhome built by Bedrock Builders qualify. And what was so great about that particular townhome is that the builder, Andy Bockenstedt, had actually tried to submit for the award once before, and that property didn't quite qualify. But he took what he learned in his conversation with the energy rater and applied it to the next property that he completed and was able to get an award for that. Actually, just this week, he became our first three-peat participant. So that's 4 different properties that he tried to engage with this award and 3 that got the awards. He also told me that he has since started working with a younger builder who he's been coaching in what he has learned working with the energy raters, and is encouraging the builder he's working with to apply for the award in the future as well. So just wonderful. But tonight, we're here to recognize the builder who achieved the best score in 2024. And I should say, in some ways, this could not have come as a surprise, because when we announced the program in June, Stephen Christopher of ICH called up our office and said, "I am going to win the best scoring home in the community," and boy, did he. As a reminder, we asked for homes to achieve a score of 52 or better to qualify. His home got an amazing score of 32. So we were asking for 20% better than Iowa State Code. He got 20% more efficient even than that. And he did it using a truly revolutionary construction technique that we haven't seen here in the city before, of using insulated concrete forms, which create not only an incredibly efficient home, but one that is also very resilient in the face of increasing climate-charged extreme weather events. So I am so tickled to call Stephen to the podium tonight and present him with an award for achieving the best score. And I know he had a word or two he wanted to say to you as well.
Great. Welcome and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. My project, it took a little bit of planning. I think to achieve a score like this, it does take a lot of planning from the onset, actually before the project even starts. So it needs to be a goal, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And took a lot of work. I know the grant helped supplement some of the extra work. I'm looking forward to do the next project and would be willing to help anybody that has any questions about how I achieved, the score that I did. So that's about it.
Great, thank you. And thanks to Sarah and all the work that you and your staff and commission do. We really appreciate that. And thanks to all of them that joined today as well. We're on to item number 3, proclamations. 3A is Human Rights Day. Whereas December 10th marks the 76th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on that date in 1948. And whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation for freedom, justice, and peace in the world. And whereas the violation and disregard of human rights have led to cruel acts that have shocked the moral conscience of humanity. And whereas to prevent people from being forced as a last resort to fight against tyranny and oppression, human rights must be safeguarded by the rule of law. And whereas the United Declaration of Human Rights is a common standard of human rights for all peoples and nations. And whereas in 2024, human rights abuses continue to take place both globally and domestically, demanding ongoing investigation and support for those whose rights are violated. And whereas the enjoyment of human rights should be not taken for granted, as it demands constant vigilance against potential threats. Continued progress in safeguarding these rights require unwavering commitment to protect them from emerging challenges, whether they arise from political, social, or economic pressures. Every effort must be made to ensure that human rights are upheld for all, and that any erosion of these rights is swiftly addressed and rectified. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim December 10th, 2024 to be Human Rights Day in Iowa City. And to receive this proclamation is Barbara Eckstein, Board President of Johnson County UNA Association.
Thank you for this. It means a lot to us, and this day means a lot to us. We're actually commemorating Human Rights Day next Tuesday with a roundtable discussion about the state of human rights locally, and I want to invite you all to this event. We have invited a number of nonprofit organizations that over the last few years, Johnson County UNA has fundraised for through our Night of 1,000 Dinners event. And I want to tell you who those nonprofits are who've accepted our invitation, so I might entice you to join us next Tuesday at the Public Library. They are the Center for Worker Justice, Community Food Bank, the Coralville Food Pantry, Domestic Violence Intervention Program, Field to Family, Houses into Homes, Inside Out Reentry Community, Open Heartland, Sankofa Outreach Connection. So I do hope you'll join us for this conversation. Our intention is to listen to these partners and help them do the work that they need to do to protect human rights here at home. So 6 o'clock next Tuesday, Public Library here. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you all for coming, and you have some people back there, so thanks for joining as well. We are going to move on to our consent agenda, which is items 4 through 9. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved, Burgess.
Second, Saleh.
Anyone from the public in person like to address anything on our consent agenda? Seeing no one in person or online. No hands raised online. Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Salah,
Yes.
Teague.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. We're on to item number 10, which is community comment. This is an opportunity for folks to speak on an item that is not on our agenda. If you're in person and you want to speak to an item that is not on our agenda, will you please raise your hand at this time? Seeing no one in person, we're going to move on to items 11, planning and zoning matters. So 11A, zoning code amendment, tobacco sales oriented retail uses. Ordinance amending Title 14 and Title Zoning Code to address tobacco sales oriented retail uses. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved. Mo.
Second, Burgess.
All right. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online. Council discussion. Council discussion. All right. Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Salah,
Yes.
Teague.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. We are on to item number 12, which is our regular formal agenda. 12A, prohibited conduct on public buses. Ordinance amendment Title 6 entitled Public Health and Safety. Chapter 8 entitled Prohibited Conduct on Public Buses, Section 1 entitled Definitions to remove for a fair language, and Section 2 entitled Prohibited Acts to update language and add additional prohibited acts. This is the first consideration. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second, Saleh.
Yep, moved by Mo, seconded by Saleh. And welcome our staff, Darian.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Darian Nagelgam, Director of Transportation Services. The item before you tonight is we're seeking to amend the city code sections that outline prohibited conduct on public buses. And we're really doing this in an effort to make sure that our passengers and our operators or our drivers operate within a safe, clean, and comfortable environment. You may be aware that transit agencies across the United States are seeing an uptick in, I would say, concerning behavior or prohibited conduct. And it's probably not just affecting transit. You're hearing it from the service sector as well. And it's really been a kind of a societal shift post-pandemic. So we've been really looking for ways that we can help better support our staff and better support our passengers on board. We've done a number of things. We've been focusing on de-escalation training, incident response protocols to make things more predictable and reliable for our staff. We're looking at some other different measures, such as driver barriers between the driver's cab area and passengers, and handheld radios for kind of more private phone conversations. Another thing that we've been looking for is to better educate the public about what the expected behavior is and what the code of conduct is on board. So we've been looking to work with our communications team to help post some new signage. If you've been on our buses, you'll see kind of, there's a lot of signs that have some of that code of conduct posted, but they're kind of black and white. There's a lot of words that might actually be hard for people to read from their seats. So we've been looking into refreshing that signage, and while we did so, we realized that our code of conduct within the actual city code could use a refresher. Some of the language needs to be modernized, and we're also proposing a few additions so that we can, again, better take this information, update the code, and then publish it in a way and educate the public on what the standards of conduct are. In terms of the enforcements of these mechanisms, how these rules are generally enforced on board is, as our drivers will give a warning if somebody is, boarding a bus with playing music out loud, or if there's some other code of conduct violation. The driver does reserve the right by code to tell someone to leave the bus if they continue to violate the code of conduct and they've given them proper warning. What happens more often than not is they will call a supervisor to come assist, and the supervisors can help take the passenger off board and kind of take the time to explain the rules of the road, the rules of riding on board, the code of conduct. And then, if it's something that rises to a more serious level, sometimes we reach out to PD for assistance. So that's really how the enforcement piece works. Tonight, in terms of the code sections, we're proposing for updates. First off, section 681, a small tweak to that section. It does specify currently that public transportation services are sort of defined by services that are provided, transportation services that are provided with a fare. So because of our unique environment, unique and wonderful environment here in Iowa City, we propose to delete for a fare. So that just ensures we all have the understanding whether there's a fare or not, what public transportation is, and that this applies to public transportation. In terms of the outlined acts, I just want to briefly walk through the proposed changes with you. First off is expanding the smoking prohibition to include the use of smokeless tobacco, electronic cigarettes, and vaping devices. Vaping is what we would probably be enforcing most often on buses nowadays. We rarely see somebody, walk on board with a cigarette nowadays or light a cigarette on board, but we do see vaping violations. So we wanted to modernize and update that section of the code. We also want to and need to update the language regarding the prohibition of sound amplification devices. We really want everybody to be able to have kind of a peaceful traveling environment. And if you're playing music, your own music out loud, it can be disruptive for the driver and for other passengers. To give you an idea of when this code was first written, we referenced tape players, record players, and CDs weren't even mentioned. So it must have predated CDs, which are now kind of gone by the wayside. But really, we wanted to focus mostly on phones, which is really where most of the music amplification comes from. We also wanted to clarify that pets or animals are not allowed. But we've always indicated that animals trained to assist persons with disabilities are exempted, but we wanted to clarify that service animals are exempted. We just wanted to make sure we had that word in there. We also want to expand the definition of prohibited conduct to include harassment and bullying. We think it's very important to outline those. Those are things, I would say it's more of a modern focus on those two items. We want to be clear about that those are not acceptable on board transit. And then the last two items are really adding language. So the first is adding language that indicates that loitering is prohibited on the bus, and we define that as remaining on the bus for more than one continuous trip or riding on the transit system continuously in excess of 2 hours without exiting the system. Now this is as long as, I guess, I would say our longest tenured employee has been with Iowa City Transit. This has been a policy, an internal policy that we have enforced. And we've done this to prevent people from literally just riding transit to ride transit all day. It's really more of a capacity issue than it is anything else, to encourage us to connect people to their destinations, but not necessarily be that destination where people are riding all day. Sometimes we've had to enforce this with, I'd say, teenagers. There's been occasions where people have been sleeping on the buses, and this gives our drivers some confidence that they can address people who are clearly riding just to ride. So it's been a longstanding policy that we have been using amongst our staff. And honestly, this was probably the thing that our drivers were the most concerned about or apprehensive about with going fare-free, and it hasn't proven to be a serious issue. I would say we occasionally need to enforce this policy. That isn't the case in all communities that have fare-free, so I think that our community does a good job of providing services or making sure people have places to go, safe places to go, so it's not something that we have to enforce probably more than occasionally.
Can you just tell me again, if you can repeat it again, because I want to know exactly. You said if they ride and they did not get in the final destination, that's what you're talking about?
Yes, so it's defined as remaining on the bus for more than one continuous trip. So if we, for example, if we pick up somebody boards at the interchange and they rode the whole route, came back to the interchange, then our driver might say, hey, do you have another destination to get to? We have a policy that if they were basically going to take another trip on the same route. Does that make sense? So you can ride one trip from start to finish, but we don't allow for more than one trip from start to finish. Now, if that person got off the bus and went to the next bus over and did a route on that bus, so let's say there was 2 hours in a row, then if they tried to ride a third time, then a driver might say to them, hey, I noticed that you've been on the system for the last 2 hours. We do have a policy against remaining on this transit system consecutively for more than 2 hours. Does that make sense?
How do our drivers even know? Like,
For-
not the obviously, like, staying on the bus, but, like, if you're moving from route to route to route to route, how would they even know?
It would be difficult for us to know if they're switching between drivers. I think that it's been very rarely, I would say in terms of the enforcement of this policy, it's usually people staying on the same bus for more than one trip. It's very rare that we have enforced people switching between trips all day. Unless there's some problematic behavior, and then that might bring our attention to it, but it's usually then that problematic behavior that we're enforcing.
Have we tried to address or figure out why that is happening? When I see somebody staying in the bus, did not get off and ride again, as they don't have, just like cold days, homeless, somebody like keep like warm inside the bus, or what the reasoning? I think before we can, like, just I don't know, is this a fine or what it is if they done that?
So let me look at there is a enforcement mechanism. So the violations could be enforced by police issuing a simple misdemeanor citation or filing of a municipal infraction, but I don't know if I know of any time in history that that's ever been done for these situations. It's usually talk to the person, again, find out, can we help get them where they need to go? That's usually the conversation that is had. And if we can connect them to services, if it's something that the street outreach team can help us with, then that's our go-to. If it's, sometimes people do fall asleep on the bus and they've been awake and where am I? And this is where I need to get. They help to connect them to where they're going. Or if it's, if it's somebody who's underage, we might offer to connect them to a parent, or this driver might call a supervisor and have a supervisor try to locate or get this person where they need to go. So those are the type of ways we try to address it when it does happen.
Yeah, you mean, like if they stayed on the bus and the bus reached the final destination, they were asleep, they did not get off because they missed their station, that's easy, they can come back with the same bus.
Yeah.
Say, oh, I missed my destination, so I will get off maybe another 2 destinations or something like that. But I really just feel we need, if something like this happens, even though it's said it's really weird, but if something like this happening, we need to address it. We need to know why it's happening. Right now we have a lot of people on the street, and it's cold.
Yep.
So I don't know if the people just riding on the bus because they don't have homes, and they just stay there. And I don't think really our bus is very, very full to the degree that we have to get off. We have to force people to get off. so we can have somebody. But this law or this policy will be implemented regardless if the bus like empty or half full, and that's a problem to me.
I guess
I don't know.
I kind of also share a little bit of concern from that, you know.
We're
like,
asking questions at this time. I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just sharing that and then asking a
Yes,
question about that.
yes.
So, what would be the expected procedure if someone were to just like miss their stop on accident? Like, I guess like the concern for me is like this makes it a misdemeanor. If it's an honest mistake, like why are we wanting to elevate this from an internal policy to a crime?
I think it seemed to be the best fit for the code of conduct versus administrative rules, which is the next item, because we want to be public facing with it. We don't have it posted in our bus. Actually, I take that back. We do have it posted in our bus. We have an old version posted in our bus that was more applicable under our old system, but we want to make it. We want to impress upon the public that it's, we think it's important, we think it is best fit for the code section versus the administrative rules. Ultimately, we want to, because it's public-facing, it's a public-facing policy, we want to be upfront and communicate it to the public. Like I said, it doesn't happen very often, but we want to make sure that it's codified either in our administrative rules or in our code of conduct.
But why is this the best place for us?
Well, in theory, it could be in our policies, which is where it's been. It could be in the administrative rules, which are just now being established. We haven't had the administrative rules. That is an option for us. Or it could show up in the code. So those are the three options that we have.
But why are we choosing this one?
That was the decision when I discussed this with our representative from the city attorney's office. That seemed like the best fit in terms of the content of that administrative rule.
Contextual.
Our administrative rules are more specific to less things you'd see in the code, more things like the size of carry and the number of carry-on bags. Like that's kind of the level of detail in the administrative rules. And then usually in the code sections, it's more kind of the high level. That's my understanding, if I got that right, Eric.
I think the short answer is just to be transparent. This is what the rule is, and let's just be transparent with it. It's not a change in practice. It's we're not looking to issue citations. I would be shocked if we ever issued a citation for that particular item, really for any of these. As Darian mentioned, some of you have been on council for some time. I don't think you've ever had a complaint from somebody getting a citation for loud music or for even bullying or harassment. We generally can take care of those without getting to that level. But we're trying to be transparent. We're trying to let the public know what the rules are and ultimately protect the other passengers and the drivers from some of the escalating behaviors is the intent of this.
I just have a quick question for the city attorney to clarify something that Councilor Dunn said as far as this question of escalating it to a crime. My understanding from reading this is that anything in what we may be approving, a violation thereof, just like any code violation, could be enforced by the police. Is that correct?
Yes, the penalty and violation provision is in 684, and as Ms. Nagelgam mentioned, it's either a simple misdemeanor or a municipal infraction, much like nearly everything
Every
else in
other
our
part of the code?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So it's not different than any other code violation that the police could enforce. Is that,
I
not
think
any other, but it is the
That's largely true.
typical code
Yes.
violation
I would
enforcement?
agree with that, yes.
Thank you.
And that's considered crime?
As
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
I said, is that considered crime, like criminal record
A simple
for them?
misdemeanor is a criminal offense. A municipal infraction is a civil penalty, yes.
Okay.
Just like speeding is a simple misdemeanor, any number of other things in our code.
Yeah, but we cannot compare this to speeding. Like, even if we talked about, speeding or driving violations. For example, like we'll give you one example for
Is it a
immigrants. Oh, it's not a question, but we can talk about that
Yes.
during discussions. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public like to address this item? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. In person, please step up to the mic. Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion.
Yeah, for me, I really just concerned, like talking about bullying, talking about harassment, talking about all this, I'm fine with them. But, and also, as the city manager said, this is happening rarely. I never, had somebody complain about that's happened, actually, or being enforced. And I also could have, some kind of, trusting that the city will take everything that in their toolbox before they can make it call the police, or before they can, as you said earlier, you call the supervisor first and you try first to talk to the person, and after that, if things escalated, call the supervisor. Supervisor might make him calm down and things will be resolved. And also, the last thing, that if something really, really big, after that, we involve the local enforcement, which is great. We are using all the tools in our toolbox. But you come to, just person sitting there without doing anything. And, for example, if I don't find any place to stay and I don't have money, and now our bus is fully, just happy in the bus. So it was very raining, or it's snowing or anything, just to protect myself and sitting there quietly. And after that, get like this, I guess I'm not feeling comfortable putting that code and putting that, I don't know, on the code. Anyway, I don't know, putting that on the code. That's what I mean. If we can take that out, will be great. So. And you just said it's not happening. It's rarely happening. Why we have it there? Let us solve our problem of homelessness. I think that's the only cause. Will cause somebody just to ride around, and because they don't have a place to stay during that time. I don't know, but I just don't feel comfortable leaving that there. And especially if they are peaceful, because if they are not peaceful, you're gonna do everything else, calling the supervisor, doing that. It's not going to be concerned about riding in the bus to just stay in the bus. So.
Yeah, I share your feelings, pretty much completely. I don't think that it makes sense if. I don't think that there's a justification for this to need to be here to be a misdemeanor or municipal infraction. If it's not something that we're already pressing right now, if it's something like a policy that I agree with the intent of the policy to make sure that we have people, rotating on our services, but I have not been given to a satisfactory degree a reason for me to believe that it should be elevated to this extent to allow interaction with law enforcement, personally. I mean, I understand the argument that it makes sense to be here, but there's no substantive or material change to how it would be enforced aside from potentially getting law enforcement involved. And given that it's not generally happening now, I just don't see it as necessary. Everything else, totally cool. Also want to keep enforcing the policy the way it is now, but in terms of adding it to this particular code section, I don't support that.
I have a question for both of you. So if it's not in the administrative rules and it's more kind of internal, how can we share that with the public for transparency?
I think we have it posted that this is an internal policy and
Yes.
you're not allowed to do that.
And I guess I'm very, concerned about things become criminal record for people. Do you know that, talking about the speeding, yes, it's speeding, but for example, immigration, when you apply for the citizenship, they will ask you everything I say, exclude driving violations. So they will exclude that, but everything else, we are not going to give you the path to citizenship. And why we add those simple things for our resident to be criminal record? And especially this time, there is many things, well, if you have small misdemeanor, which is criminal record, now you can be deported. You can, a lot of things going to be really bad on the next year. If we can minimize, like making people having criminal record, will be great. So, and who is going to have this? Our vulnerable population, the people who are in the street, the people who are immigrants, the people who are undocumented, the people who are just really vulnerable. That's why they will be like, fall into this. So I guess I don't like if the people are peaceful to be just giving ticket because they're out on the bus twice.
I also am not in favor of elevating things to crimes or criminalizing peaceful behavior. And I just think if anyone wishes to offer an amendment to this, two things. Number one, the second part in here is establishing that any violation of the administrative rules would have the same impact, right? That is subsection N, failure to comply with administrative rules established by the transportation director. So that would catch if it's just, yes, everything else that's not part of the ordinance. And if overall, well, as the city attorney just spoke to, there are so many more things that if we are not wanting to allow law enforcement to enforce through making something a simple misdemeanor, that's a much, much bigger issue that I'm grateful to hear you talking about. And I hope that if my colleagues are on board with that, that it would be a different kind of approach, because I think it speaks to the fact that most of our community would not understand that code violations could be criminal, right? And I completely appreciate what our transportation director said, and we've had these conversations around policing as well, that's not going to be the first option, right, to enforce through making, to charging a crime. But I just want to make sure everyone up here understands that that's the status quo for a lot of what's on the books. So I think we would probably want, for consistency's sake, some kind of justification for our understanding of making it different or exempting it somehow.
I agree.
Question, do we have, I guess this was something unclear to me, do we have administrative rules right now, or is this creating the ability to create administrative rules, and are those separate from the policies that we operate currently under?
Well, perhaps Ms. Nagelgam would be better equipped to answer this than me, but it's my understanding we presently have administrative rules, and I'll offer my agreement with Councilor Burgess in both of the last points she made. The first being that if you were to delete Section M, speaking about the more than one continuous trip, but the not engaging in more than one continuous trip remained in the administrative policy, someone could just still be prosecuted, not that I think that's ever likely to happen, but could still be prosecuted under what is presently labeled N, would then be probably amended to M if you were to eliminate M. And I agree with Councilor Burgess's second point too, in that we've got a whole bunch of things that are, if you violate city code, that there's one of two remedies. It's either a municipal infraction or a simple misdemeanor. That's just the underlying foundation of our code. And so if you were to decide that as a council we didn't like that would require wholesale revisions to our city code.
I appreciate your perspective on who these people, and giving a sort of idea of who these people who might be riding the bus longer than what we would expect are, and I'm very sympathetic towards that, specifically in the context of immigration. So I would support just getting rid of the Section M, striking that, and then our transportation director is here. She hears this conversation. Our city manager and attorney is here. I think they understand, yes, the purpose of transportation, our buses, is for buses, and there are situations where we might need to do more, and I think they will. So I'd support getting rid of M. I would not support getting rid of N.
So moved.
Second Amendment.
So moved by Dunn, seconded by Sala to remove M,
But not N.
but not N.
Just M right
What
now.
it is? Didn't see it.
Council discussion on this amendment? Roll call, please.
Dunn.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, so we are now back to the original with the amendment, and that is our vote at this time. Any other comments?
I got a weird administrative comment. Do we have to change it from N to M?
Yeah, that would be a non-substantive change that we would make
Okay.
at the second
Okay.
reading, yes.
Roll call, please.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We are on to item number 12B, which is dimensions for new patios and rental housing. Ordinance amending Title 17 entitled Building and Housing, Chapter 5, entitled Housing Code to clarify the dimensions of new patios in Section 17-5-18Q, and to clarify parking is not allowed on patios. This is the first consideration. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dunn, seconded by Burgess, and we're going to welcome Stan, our senior housing inspector. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The ordinance before you amends the housing code to establish size limits for newly constructed patios and clarifies, as you've heard, that parking is not allowed on patios. The original section of the housing code that we're proposing amending was originally enacted in 2017 to preserve open spaces and rear yards. If you remember, that's when the state changed or removed our ability to regulate occupancy based off of familial status. While the original ordinance allowed paved patios, it did not specify size restrictions. We've had a recent challenge to that, where the courts decided that we were a little ambiguous in what constitutes a patio. This amendment addresses the gap while reinforcing the prohibition on parking on patios. Any questions?
I do. What's the purpose of the language that they cannot be constructed contiguous to parking spaces?
Yeah, so enforcement is always a problem, and you run into the issue of if you have concrete that's parking and then a concrete patio, and this is dealing specifically with rental property. The concern is tenants aren't going to have that information, what is parking, what is a patio. If there's a delineation between the two of those, it's a lot easier for enforcement that this is obviously parking, this is separate from the parking, and that's a patio.
Thank you.
What is the purpose for the, there's a game day exemption? Or
Yep.
tailgating exemption? What's the purpose of having an exemption for that?
Sure, because enforcement on game days for this is a nightmare, and it just problematic to make that distinction, and we allow tailgating.
So practical.
Practical, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, hearing no more questions, thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you are online, please raise your virtual hand. If you are in person, I will call upon you. Now, I do see just one person online, but I don't see no option for a mic or a video like I normally would.
Again, that would be something they'd need to turn on their end.
Okay, so anyone online that wish to speak, you have to turn on your,
I'm sorry. If they raise their hand, I would allow them to speak, and then they would have those options.
okay, you would have to raise your virtual hand first, and then I'll be able to acknowledge you. Last call for anyone in person or online to speak. I'm going to move on to council discussion at this time.
Makes sense?
Roll call, please.
Mo?
Yes.
Salah?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. 12C is our next agenda item. Lifton 1, that motion passed 6-0 if I didn't, I think I said it. All right. We're moving on to 12C, Lifton Tobacco Moratorium. This is a resolution lifting the moratorium on the issuance of new tobacco permits in Iowa City, Iowa, adopted May 7th, 2024 via Resolution 24-129. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mo, seconded by Salah. And staff is going to be Eric Gores on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. Council earlier this evening passed the final reading for the tobacco zoning separation requirements, and you will recall that we began that discussion earlier this year with a moratorium on the issuance of new tobacco permits so that we could make some decisions at the council level as to what kind of regulations you wanted to see. Well, you folks have ended that process and, excuse me, and passed a new ordinance. And whereas the moratorium is scheduled to end on December 31st, we are aware that there are a number of sales of properties and other things like that where folks are anxious to move ahead. And so we had earlier discussed that upon the passage of the final reading of the zoning ordinance, we would lift the tobacco moratorium. It will coincide with the publication of the ordinance, not tonight, but the publication of the ordinance, because that's when the ordinance takes effect. And we want to have those line up, not have a gap in the lifting of the moratorium and the application of the new law. So that's what's before you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Hearing none. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion.
That's what we discussed.
Roll call, please.
Salah?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 12D, Iowa City 2025 State Legislative Priorities. Resolution establishing the City of Iowa City's 2025 State Legislative Priorities. Can I get a motion, please?
Move, Salah.
Second, Mo?
All right, we're going to welcome Jeff Run back.
Yes, thank you. So at your work session in November, you had a look at these draft legislative priorities. You directed a couple of changes, which are now incorporated. That includes encouraging the state to consider regulation of kratom and also to eliminate or lower the threshold in which cities can come together to form a regional transit district. There are only 2 eligible metropolitan areas in the state of Iowa that are eligible based on the population threshold of 175,000 right now. And we would like the state to consider lowering that, so Iowa City metropolitan area and other mid-sized metropolitan areas could engage in those discussions on whether a transit district is appropriate for their communities. The rest of the legislative priorities are as you reviewed them in November and are largely the same as they have been the last few years, with one exception, that is we have modified to match USG's legislative priorities. As those have changed, we have updated ours to reflect their priorities as well. Happy to answer any questions.
There are no questions. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're in person, please raise your hand. Online, your virtual hand. See no one in person or online. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Teague?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn? Sorry. Oh, Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Salah?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 12E, update of City Council fiscal 2023 through fiscal year 2028 strategic plan. Resolution adopting and updated to the Iowa City Council strategic plan for fiscal years 23 through 28. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Burgess?
Second. Saleh.
All right, moved by Burgess, seconded by Saleh. And we'll invite Jeff Ruin again.
Okay, another quick one here, at least as far as my report goes. The current strategic plan was adopted in December of 2022, and just last October, you all spent several hours in this room reviewing that strategic plan and considering some updates that were suggested to you by the staff. Most of those updates I would characterize as clarifying or trying to account for new things that we did not anticipate back in the original adoption. A good example might be the pro-housing grant award or the acquisition of 21 South Lynn downtown. We've incorporated those types of items. Council did direct that we include an update to the climate action plan with an additional focus on resilience, and that is now listed in the strategic plan and is something that we will consider in the coming years. The strategic plan is attached to the agenda item, and I'm happy to clarify or answer any questions on the changes that were made. You can see the staff report that Kirk put together that summarizes them in each of the categories.
Any questions for Jeff? Hearing none from the council. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online. Council discussion.
I just want to say that every time I look at the strategic plan, I'm really proud of us, and I hope that members of the public do take the time to go to icgov.org/strategic plan. I'm sure the new one will be updated shortly in the next, sometime soon, with the amendments that we're making to update it. And also, I've been really impressed with the process and the fact that we all, came back together and had input from new counselors that weren't involved in the 2022 plan, and that we were right at the 2-year mark in doing that. So that's just congratulations to us. It's a good feat.
Thanks to the city manager's office and to ECOG for facilitating that day where we got around, and thanks to my fellow counselors for having us do this. You'd already been through it once, but for the benefit of new counselors, I strongly support doing that so we're all on the same page and sort of are rowing in the same direction. So thanks to everyone.
With those comments in mind, I would just say we should put a pin in our little memories to maybe think about 2026 doing this again, because we'll have council elections next year, potentially some new faces again. Plus, we'll have a special election, so I guess we could, definitely we'll have at least one new face, and so, like every other year, might be a cycle that would be productive. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm very excited too because of the metrics that we have. Some metrics there, so we're going to measure our progress in certain stuff. So this is amazing. Thank you for everybody who work on this.
All right. Roll call, please.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Sala?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Item 12F, TRC extension, resolution extending the time frame for the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission to complete its final report. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Burgess,
Second, Saleh.
seconded by Saleh, and I'm going to invite the TRC Vice Chair Lauren Merritt, and Lou Tassany is also here from the TRC as well. So welcome to both of you.
I need to sign in. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, you don't need to sign in.
Okay, good.
No, yes. Welcome.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
As you know, it's been quite some time we've been working on this. We're getting the final stages, and we recognize that as much effort that the commissioners have put into this, we are limited into the ability to actually write this report, especially to the caliber that we would like to present for the city of Iowa City. So we agreed that having someone who can dedicate all their time to writing the report, we selected somebody, but we also know that that person would have to have a contract set up with the city attorney, and not knowing how long that part would take. And then actually writing the report, we realized that we needed some more time, which is why we had requested this additional time just for writing the report.
Great. All right. Any questions for the TRC members? Hearing none, thank you both. All right. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're in person, please step up to the mic. If you're online, please raise your virtual hand and I'll acknowledge you. Yes, welcome. And we ask that you sign in and state your name and city you're from, and you'll be granted up to 3 minutes to speak. Welcome.
Okie doke. Great to see you. Good.
Yes.
Great to see you all. Okie doke. Well, I'm here to support the TRC getting an extension.
And please state your name and city you're from.
Oh, thanks. Annie Tucker, Iowa City.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm already using up my time. So when George Floyd was murdered in June 2020, that was considered the largest, most diverse movement in U.S. history. And those protests raised issues of systemic racial inequity to all America and to the world and initiated changes. For example, initially we saw corporations offering DEI and making sure that their customers knew that, right? We also had you all, you all created a TRC here. And to the public who has not read your resolution 2228, it is like one of the most inspiring things that you can read about any place, but it's about this place. And 3 of you were on the council at that point and voted for it. So you want to raise your hand to get acknowledged for voting for it? You don't have to.
You can speak to the council.
Okay, great. Okay, so information is power. And when the American people saw the murder and found out more about systemic racial inequity, they were angry and they wanted change. Okay? And now, fast forward to now, there are people who want that baked-in inequity, and they are wanting to erase people's understanding of it by getting rid of DEI, right? So, it's hard to know whether to read or just kind of free flow. So that's the climate in which we're living. So the work of the Iowa City TRC is more important and more at risk than ever. For you all to take a stand to want to know what's happening in this community, where the inequity is, and then charge yourselves with figuring out what to do about that. That is powerful. And so I just want to remind you that in Section C of the TRC duties that are laid out in Resolution 2228, one of the duties is to identify and recommend to the City Council institutional and policy reforms. That's where racism lives, in the law, in policies and practice. Please let them have an extension to give you recommendations.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion. So I want to say thanks to Commissioner Merritt and for Commissioner Tassinari being here today. Really appreciate you all coming before the council and just having this discussion. I want to first give gratitude for all of the commissioners, past and present. And as we just heard from the comments, Iowa City in 2020, we were the ones in our community that made a bold statement that we wanted to ensure that we have something in place to help us to facilitate the change that we want to see. And so to all the TRC commissioners that are ever served, I want to personally say thank you for your service. In this moment, I know that the TRC, as it was mentioned, their last task is to write or submit a final report to the council. I think it was stated that that's something that they need to contract for. Fully understandable and was totally expected. And so what I would say to my colleagues at this time, as well as to the TRC, I fully want to see that final report and for the council to have that. But I do believe that this can be achieved with the person that's the TRC members have already mentioned that they want to hire. And at this moment, I think if the council desire just to kind of give a thumbs up to that final report, the person that is, need to sign some contracts to present that. But I would be fully supportive of it, and I would ask my colleagues to be fully supportive of it. Now, I do want to say that because that is the last step, extending the TRC, I won't support at this time beyond the December 31st. But the good news is that we'll still, if this passes and or if we give the thumbs up by all of the commissioners or council, I do believe that the final report can be finalized, and should the members wish to contribute to that, because I know that's a part of it, you will be absolutely able to contribute to that final report without some of the governmental restraints of quorum and all of that stuff. I know that there is no more activities scheduled, which we appreciate you all kind of navigating some of that. So at this point, I just wanted to talk to my fellow colleagues to see if you all would be amendable to the TRC members submitting or this person being hired for the final report, even if the commission, ended or allowed their present time to end and expire on December 31st, 2024. I'm wondering if people would be amendable to that individual still working on the report and submitting that to the council. Okay. So do see some agreements there. And other than that, I really do want to say thank you to all of the commissioners, especially the ones that are here currently. I see you everywhere. So really appreciate you all being very visible and engaged in the community. And I am almost certain that we'll continue to see that and really appreciate what you all done. Again, it is the item that's before us is really the TRC extension. To be clear, I won't vote for the extension. I'll allow the time to expire. But I am fully in support of receiving that final report from the person that is hired. Yes.
Mayor, I just want to echo the gratitude that you voiced for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Its 4 years have been tumultuous and difficult, and at times so inspiring and so incredible, and at times so hard and even harmful. And I know that the work the commission did, and particularly for those who had the opportunity to serve on the commission, it has left a significant imprint on their lives. I struggle with the idea of having the TRC sunset because of its importance, because of the the promise that we made to ourselves at that time in 2020. I do, in understanding from the commissioners that they don't have additional activities planned, that the intention would be to finish out the final report. I would be in favor of what you're presenting, Mayor. I think it's, there's a lot of, I could see a lot of benefit in being able to have the end of the formal commission and the opportunity then to have the report and recommendations written from that perspective, that the commission existed in this time, in this place, in these circumstances, and from that, these are the policy recommendations, and also just memorializing the work of the commission, what happened in the commission. And I think we have acknowledged here publicly, and I've heard it numerous times at the commission, that the work that we tasked them with was largely impossible and often unsupported and at times undermined. And so I do think that what you propose, Mayor, is a reasonable way to acknowledge all of that and allow for the sunsetting of this project, and knowing that Iowa City remains committed, as it says in our every document on every screen, to social justice and racial equity, and that we will not forget what the commission was tasked with and all of its accomplishments.
Yeah, I think so. The mayor and Council Burgess, you guys said it beautifully. And of course, I share the same thing that, yeah, was not, easy for you guys. It was tough. But also just like a lot of gratitude to the present and the previous commissioner. It wasn't easy, but you navigated through. And thank you so much for your work. And I will be in favor also of maybe not extend it, but let the report, the person who write the report continue. And I believe this is also not, unless somebody's really insisted to do it, maybe we can talk, but I think this is a reasonable now, since, as Councilor Berger said, there is no more activity has been set to be done. Then, yeah, this is a reasonable way to end it.
Just echo my fellow councilors in saying thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is or was an historic commission and deserves to be memorialized in a document. So I appreciate that we'll have someone synthesize all of the content, because there's a lot of it, because you guys put in a lot of time. It'll be good for all of us to have that synthesized and saved for the record. But then also we can look back at it and use it in the future, hopefully. So thank you for your time. And I also will support allowing the TRC to sunset, but continue on the work of documenting all of your work.
Just kind of one extra plug, so like everyone else said, thank you. One of the things that I have been impressed with is the number of people on the TRC who were community members who gave of themselves because they care about this community and the things that are important to the people of this community. I would just throw out there as an idea, take a well-deserved break or rest, and then we have a lot of other commissions and boards that do all kinds of good work in this community. And having had that experience, I'm kind of hoping in the future I'll see some names on board and commission applications come across my desk. And so I just want to encourage, with a well-reserved break, I wouldn't want to force anybody to jumping right back into the melee, but certainly when people are ready, I will look forward to that. So,
thank you all.
We've actually ended that opportunity.
It's just for clarification about the date.
So I think I hear clarification of date.
Yes.
Yes, all right. That would be helpful. Yes. So I guess the question is clarification of date of when the final report is expected. I think, at least from my perspective, we know that there will be some contract working out. We don't know how long that'll take, but I heard from the commission that they needed 2 months, the person needed 2 months to work on the report, and then about a month, I think, for the commission to kind of finalize it, or for input, I guess, from the public or whomever want to finalize it. So I would say 3 months from when the contracts are signed, because we know that can take some time too. So let's be very clear that from the date of the contract, 3 months. And I know that the commissioners have one more meeting before the year is out on the 19th of December. And so that'll be something you all can certainly discuss. All right?
I would just maybe offer that if, in the negotiating of the contract, not knowing the details of it, if the individuals who are doing the work think it may be more time, I mean, I hate to limit it to 90 days, but within reasonableness, I think the commission said 6 months on the outset, or on the outside. And so we do want a deadline, but I think nothing too strict if that,
Sure.
Since we're not voting on it anyway.
Yeah,
just
we're not
directing.
voting on it. So I think if we're comfortable, I hear the 6 month that they suggested. If we're comfortable, if we really throw it back to the commission, they'll be listening to this, and I'm sure the two that are here today will take it back from the date of the signing of the contract, around 90-ish days is what?
Yeah, because I think that when the commissioner said 6 months, they include that the time of looking for someone and signing the contract and everything. Like you just said, from the date of signing the contract. So I think the commissioner, when they said 6 months, they include everything. Like from now, it is the date that the commission end until the day that they finish they said 6 months. So reasonable 3 months, 3 months ish. So
Ish.
yeah,
Ish.
Let's put that ish if that ish needed. Okay.
All right.
The city attorney will love that.
I may not use the term 90-ish in the contract, but I will convey that message as soon as practicable.
Well, it would be
out.
60 days for the individual to kind of submit the initial report. All right. Anything else from my fellow colleagues? Hearing nothing else? All right. Just so that the folks that are present know, the vote that we're taking is for the TRC extension. And from what we've heard from myself and my colleagues, we're going to allow that date to sunset. And so the item before us, should it go through, it will be a no vote for the extension. So I just wanted to make that clarification. All right, roll call, please.
Dunn.
No.
Harmson.
No.
Mo.
No.
Salah.
No.
Teague.
No.
Burgess.
No.
Motion passes 6-0.
Motion fails. 6-0.
Motion fails 0 to 6. 0 to 6. All right. Again, thank you all for coming here tonight and representing all of your fellow commissioners. And you get to hear us say a lot of gratitude to you all directly, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And please share our sentiments and our discussion today. Thank you. All right, we are on to item number 12G, setting special election. This is a resolution setting a special election to fill council vacancy created by Andrew Don's resignation, and he is going to recuse himself.
Can I just abstain and just sit and watch, because this is the last formal thing? last formal meeting agenda item of my...
You may. Actually, I don't think you have any legal conflict for what it's
That's what I
worth,
thought.
but yes, that's fine. You
I'm
can
just
choose
going to abstain.
Okay.
Yeah. And forgive me for not acknowledging this. We celebrated Councilor Dunn earlier today, but this is his last meeting as a city councilor for the city of Iowa City. And so you can sit right there. Thank you. All right. Could I get a motion to approve?
So move, Saleh.
Second.
Harmson.
Harmson can have it.
All right, moved by Saleh, seconded by Harmson. And we're going to invite Eric to kind of lead us in this discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, at your last work session, the council decided by consensus that you would be moving forward with a special election as opposed to an appointment to fill the vacancy that will occur at midnight on December 31st of 2024. The dates for the special election would likely be March 4th for the special election, with a February 4th primary election, if a primary election is needed. That is, if there are 3 or more candidates, then a primary would be needed. Utilizing the new favorite vocabulary word, I say March 4th because it is as early as practicable, as required by state code. I think council is also aware that the town of Swisher is also going to be having a special election on March 4th, and the county auditor's office has asked requested that council seek special election on the same day. Unfortunately, there is no cost savings because there would be different ballots in different polling places from Swisher, of course, for the Iowa City election. So those dates are included in the resolution, and I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Real quick, do we have, I was trying to look through here again real quick, so see if I missed it, but we have the dates for the primary and the actual election set on this. Do we have other details about, like, when they have to turn in a petition, how many signatures would be needed, and a reminder those signatures need to come from this district?
Yes, those are all excellent points. As my memo indicated, if council selects the March 4th special election date, then candidacy petitions are due by January 10th, 53 days before that election. Those petitions would need to have at least 144 signatures, and as you said, all those signatures would need to be from eligible electors from District C, which is, of course, Councilor Dunn's position that is to be filled. And obviously, candidates would need to be from District C, too. I should probably state that, although I think everyone understands that.
Any other questions for Eric? All right, anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. If you're present, please come up. Yes, welcome. Please state your name and city you're from. And you don't have to sign in because we know that you're here.
Lauren Merritt, Iowa City, and actually from District C. And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anyone else like to address this topic? Hearing no one. In person or online, council discussion.
I guess I would just urge people who are thinking about running to get on it. There's 30 days to get 144 signatures from District C, which probably requires going door to door because we don't have a whole lot of events where you would know people are from District C. So this is a very quick turnaround, and I think we all have been talking and listening and saying who might run, and I don't think there's people who've actually announced yet. So as far as I know. Anyway, that beside the point, but for those listening, note the timeline. It is very fast.
Agree.
Roll call, please.
Harmson?
Yes.
Moe?
Yes.
Sella?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
With one
Well,
abstention.
I guess if you wanted to have the opportunity to abstain, please do.
Okay.
Done.
Abstain.
Okay. All right. It's not very often that you be quiet. I was going to use the word. I was going to use a different word.
Did you feel it on the phone?
All right. We are on to item number 13, council appointments. We have 13A, Climate Action Commission is the only appointment for the night. And we have one vacancy to fill a 3-year term, January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027. And we'll just kind of go through. Well, can I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dunn, seconded by Salah. And then let's just go through and talk about who folks want.
I like Jinx Hovel Sturdivant, probably mispronounced that.
Emma Bork.
Emma Brooke.
Yeah, I thought Emma Bork was interesting too. I was going to throw her name out. I think it's her, yeah.
Well, I guess we have 3 for Emma. I can support Emma, although Sturdivant was also good.
Yeah.
Yes, I support that. How many we need to?
Just one.
Just one.
Just one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Emma.
I'll support Emma.
Yeah. Okay. So could I get a motion
Mayor,
to?
could we get a vote on the correspondence?
Yeah.
Yes, a motion to accept correspondence was passed and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Now, we are on to council discussion, which we're returning back to. And could I get a motion to appoint Emma Bork?
So moved.
Yep. So moved by Don, seconded by Harmson. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Now we're on to items number 14. Announcements of vacancies new. 14A, announcements of Housing and Community Development Commission. One vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through June 30th, 2025, plus a 3-year term. Applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Can I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Salah, seconded by Burgess. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 15 is announcements of vacancies previous. 15A, Airport Zoning Board of Commission, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Airport Zoning Commission, one vacancy to fill a 6-year term. Board of Adjustments, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals, HVAC Professional, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Historic Preservation Commission, Jefferson Street, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, Woodlawn Avenue, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term plus a 3-year term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. Item number 16 is City Council information. And of course, again, this is Councilor Dunn's last day. And at least for a council meeting, you still have work to do until I think it's the January 1st.
Just before.
Right, I think midnight. I mean, of course, it's up to his resignation, but I believe it was the midnight December 31st.
All right, midnight December 31st.
Yes.
So,
You're still a council member at the
yes.
Yes. I'll give you my parking pass in January. Yeah. No, I really thank you for that acknowledgement, Mayor. I have really appreciated the time to work with you all and to serve the community in this way. I'm incredibly proud of everything that we've been able to accomplish over my 2 years on council, and I really leave this position with a lot of security and really happiness. I know that our community has an incredible team at the dais, aside the dais, and in all of our incredible other public servants. So I'm not too worried about how things are going to go. Yeah, I would just encourage folks to get involved. If people are interested in taking this spot, feel free to reach out to me. I've had a couple people do so. I'm always happy to meet and talk about the obligations, but truly just trying to reemphasize also my great appreciation for all of you, the incredible work that we've been able to accomplish and are going to continue to accomplish.
Great.
Yeah. Really, thank you for your service. You know, we might disagree sometime and we agree a lot of time, but still, at the end of the day, you're still our friend.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue that. Thank you for your services.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I would actually talk, just to that end, about disagreement. I think something that I think people should know is that's really true.
Yes.
When I first got on council, we had a few meetings before there was something that was truly controversial, where we were like button heads, or like it was unclear as to what way something was going to go. We had that disagreement. One side came out on top. I don't even remember what the issue was, and I was worried. I'm like, oh, is there going to be tension next meeting? There wasn't. This is truly an incredible group of professionals and people who truly love this community. And like you said, we can disagree, but then we the point of the job is to get stuff done.
Exactly.
And that's what this group does. So again, very confident in the future of this
We wish
community.
you the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. We're going to move on to reports. Item number 17, reports on items from our city staff, city manager's office.
Andrew, thank you from staff. You're a fierce advocate for the employees of Iowa City, and they appreciate it, and I appreciate that. It's always good to have somebody advocating for staff, and you all do, but you in particular, Andrew, have been a strong voice for employees. So please know that that's appreciated from the staff.
Thank you.
I'll offer my thanks as well for your passion that you bring to this office, and your creativity and your ideas. Those are all welcome.
You can say insanity. It's okay.
I would not say insanity. You brought a lot of vigor to our discussions, and I appreciate that.
He is a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
All right. That was our city attorney, now our city clerk.
I would just say it's been great getting to know you and working with you, and thank you for your service, and best of luck.
Thank you, Kelly.
Great. We are at item number 18.
I had,
and-
I'm sorry, I didn't jump in quickly enough, and I didn't want to interrupt because
Yes.
I want to echo everybody else's
Sure.
comments, but I want to switch topics just slightly because we are in for a cold snap tonight.
Okay, so we're going back to item number 16, city council updates.
Well, and I was actually going to kick it over to our city manager just to remind people about what services, and we had this discussion earlier about in the bus conversation, but what services are available now that the weather is going to be upon us again.
Sure.
And so I apologize for not giving more of a heads up, but I have faith.
All right.
And for item 18, Andrew, you're going to do it? Yeah.
Well, if you guys remember in the press, they were like, when I was first appointed, they pointed out the fact that I was the one who moved to adjourn that meeting. So I joined the dice. So
All right.
we're on the same
All
page.
right. All right. City manager.
Yeah, you may recall last year, I believe, was the first year we entered into a contract for service for the winter shelter. We always, or historically, had made a donation that helped the shelter house stand up a winter shelter, but we increased our contribution about fivefold, from about $20,000 per year to $100,000 per year. And now have specific dates in which the shelter operates. So I'm looking at last year's report, and I don't have the exact dates for this year, but we contract to have that shelter open in early December, and it goes through the middle of March. It's a total of 105 days of operation. And to give you an idea of the scope of that service, last year we had 283 unique individuals take advantage of that winter shelter, and that accounted for over 6,400 of nights served. So we'll happily report on that throughout this winter, but with the cold spell coming, we do have the winter shelter open for those evening stays, and during the day, we always welcome people to take shelter and enjoy our rec centers, our libraries, our senior centers, if they need a place to stay warm during those daytime as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was worth pausing for. We are on to item number 18. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dunn, seconded by Sala. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.